All right, we got one more piece of code that we're going to put directly on the form. And this is going to be a super simple one. Because you know what? You've already written all the code in the earlier projects. This is going to deal with the Run Report button. We want to put some code inside that button so that when somebody clicks on it, it runs the final report loop that we created earlier. If I get into my Project Explorer here and open up Module 1, we've got all the code in there for the final report that does the loop, the copy, the paste, and everything that it calls to automate sum, the add headers, and the format headers procedures you created earlier. So all we need to do, I'll go back to my form here, is take this procedure right here and make a call to it when somebody clicks the button. So I'm actually just going to copy this right here, final report loop, go back to my form, double click the button, run report. This creates the new little procedure for us, CMD run report, click event, and then all I'm going to do is paste in the name of that procedure. And that's it. Super simple. You create all the earlier code, you're done. Now you're just creating a form as an interface to help you run that final report. All right, that's it. Once you've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and run my form. I got my drop down. It's going to take me to the different worksheets. I got my Add Sheet button, which will create new sheets, put it at the beginning, and allow me to rename that sheet as well. And now I got my Run Report button. I'll leave it up to you. You can click that button. We did it earlier, but this will go through all the worksheets, format them, make them look good, add the headers, and then create the yearly report. Do the calculations as well. All in one button press. Super slick. Now, there's one potential disaster that can happen here. If I do this, if I add a sheet, let's say this is going to be Europe. Okay, we got a new division. We got some Europe numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. When it gets placed in there, it's currently empty. There's nothing inside of this worksheet. So, what happens if I run the report right now? Let me try it. I'm going to go ahead and hit run. Uh-oh. I got an error. Application defined or object defined error. Well, you know what? Sometimes these error messages, they're just not very helpful. If I hit the debug button, this takes me to a cell, or it takes me to a reference within my code. This is in my auto sum section. It's highlighted this line right here where the error is happening. It says active cell.offset 1,0.select. Something's wrong with that line, or at least Excel thinks something's wrong with that line. What's actually happening here, if I move that window out of the way, is it's on the Europe worksheet. But look where my cursor's at. It's all the way at the bottom. You might recall the automate sum procedure tries to go down to find the last cell. Once it finds it, it then offsets one cell so it can do the formula. Well, here, when the end XL down ran, it jumped all the way to the bottom of the worksheet because there was no data. Then it tries to offset even further down, and it can't do that because it's at the very bottom of the worksheet. Hence the reason for the error. All right, I need to fix that. I don't want the loop to run on a worksheet where there's no data. So let me stop this. Let me get back into here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop button. See my yellow line there? I'm going to hit stop. This is reset. It'll reset the debugger, reset my code. So it takes me out of what's called break mode. That way I can continue working. If you ever get an error, go look at the error. See if you can figure out what went wrong. But when you're done looking at the error, hit the reset button. That'll take you back to default. All right. Now, I'm going to go back to Module 1. This is where all of our code is at. More importantly, this is where our final report loop is at. Now, I don't want the loop to run if there's an empty worksheet. So, we need to add a condition. If the worksheet is empty, if there's no data, then don't run. So, I'm just going to modify the loop just a little bit here. Right after selecting the worksheet. So, it goes and selects the worksheet. Once a worksheet's selected, I then want to determine whether or not there's data there. If there's data, then we should go ahead and perform our normal task. If there's no data, then forget about it, move on to the next worksheet, continue the loop. So I'm going to add a conditional statement, an if statement. I'm going to say if active, well, you know what? I'm going to do this first. I'm going to select cell A1 first. Because you know what? I want to take it up to the top. Kind of thinking on the fly here. I want to take it up to the top to where data should be expected to be seen. Because you know what? In reality, users can click all over the place. We could be all the way down in G20. It's not G20 that I want to determine if there's data in it or not. I want to know if there's data inside of A1. So first thing, let's select cell A1. Then I'm going to use an if. I'm going to say if active cell dot value is not. This is your not symbol. It's your two little bracket symbols here. The greater or less than symbol and the greater than symbol just smashed together. This is not. If the active cell's value is not empty, just two quotes, no space in between, just two quotes smashed together. If it's not empty, then we'll go ahead and do all of this. And then I'm going to end my if. All right. If it is empty, then it's going to ignore all of this because it's within this condition here. And then it'll just go to the next I and repeat the loop. Okay? That's it. This is our catch to if there's an empty worksheet. If A1 is currently empty, then just totally ignore this. Let's try it again. I'm going to go ahead and close this. All right, that's the empty one, right? So let's get back up here to the top. All right, it did put headers in there. So I am going to delete those. That was part of the macro that ran earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and rerun it again. Let me go ahead and get my form back up. Let's go back to my form. I'm going to go ahead and run this. All right, so this works. It'll take me to different sheets. Now I'm going to go ahead and run the report. There we have it. Europe. Oh, I got to close this window. Let's get back out to my workbook here. So Europe is empty. That's totally fine. It didn't break though, but it did the rest of the work. All done. Sheets and my final report with all of my data. So just a little bit of a catch. Just watch for that. It's going to happen. I mean, you're in there programming. There's so many different things that can go wrong. In this case, if there's an empty sheet, if range A1, right, the active cell A1 is empty, then don't do anything. Just go to the next sheet, check that one, and if there's data, then go ahead and do your job. All right, something small, but it's something definitely we need to watch out for. You're going to run into errors, but we can always overcome those errors as well. So try this out. Get that new procedure in there for the click event of the run report button. Get that to make a call to final report loop, and then modify the report, or excuse me, the loop, to include this conditional statement within there as well. So try that out, and then save your work and go try out your loop.